Hey, muy buenas noches, everyone. I hope everybody's doing well, blessed, and enjoying family. As always, muchas gracias to all for everyone's words, prayers, and the love you guys share and extend my way. De corazón, I appreciate every one of you. And well, everyone, before I start off, do please excuse me that I've been a little MIA. But for those that are in touch with me, know there's a lot going on right now with this current war here where I'm at, right? And also this health situation. It just don't help. But nevertheless, I'm here, and as long as I'm here, I'm gonna try to push the message, right? At least to give some clecha to those that, as you guys will see in this one, for one reason or another, it's not given. Eventually, they will hit a wreck, right? Today, I want to touch on mainly that, how a lot of people speak, them low, weak levels and them high levels. Me personally, I don't think that's so, right? I think any level there's wiggling, there's action there. Especially now, right, that you got senores from all factions on lower levels. But I do want to take you back to 99, 2000, and I want to talk about mainly two camaradas, right? I spoken about the payaso from 41st and the homie stranger from Carnales. When I was in Ironwood, as I stated it before, I was holding a position for Terco on the yard, and the homies came from a level two, and it happened over, you could say, a riot behind their action, right? Basically, over there at this time, there wasn't too much politicking. Everybody's trying to go home, but you have individuals, not just these camaradas, but you have individuals on even on them lower levels that walk around with their chest pumped in, waiting to prove themselves, at least in the head, right? That they're above others, that pride thing. So, anyways, there was a raza that got there, but he was also from South Central, but did not run with raza. He ran with Crips, and they made an issue about it. Basically it was one of them tuck wars of pride, right? Of yo soy el más chingón type of thing, right? And disrespectful at that. For example, I've never been in a level two, right? But again, I'm not minimizing it. But from certain situations that I had to deal with camaradas coming from level twos, you could kind of pin pin together the actions of a level two, right? And anyways, they went up to the brothers and they told them, basically it was a disrespect. They would have to deal with it. They didn't want them on the yard. And of course, it's like telling the brothers, you have to do something, right? And it ain't gonna happen. They told him no. If he's touched, we're gonna go up. And it's understood. Nevertheless, again, Payaso and strangers, they decided to go ahead and take flight, which led to a riot, right? And of course, it led to, as them go up in points. People catch time because there is battles on them lower levels that will pick up a piece and boogie, right? and that their pride is bigger than their anxiety to go home, per se, like that. So, anyways, it happened, and like it happens in a lot of pintas, right? Usually for these type of things, you get what, a 10-month shoe, and you go up in points, and usually you do the shoe there, and then when you're about to get out, they move you up in points, which was the case with them, right? They went to Ironwood, never hit a shoe though. They went to Ironwood, like I stated before. A year was a mess. There was level fours from 270, 180, level threes in the gym, and before it flipped to a level four, right? But anyways, level three where I was at, it was mostly the close custody block, right? A lot of lifers and stuff. And Payaso came to this block for whatever reason, right? And of course, now he hit a higher level, but they were still playing that Ramfla trip again. So, he was one of them individuals that liked drama, per se. He liked attention. And a couple times I had I'm not gonna say smack his ears back, because again, that's a disrespectful way to speak about him, but bring things to his attention, right? For example, we like playing soccer, and there's been a couple issues with the paisanos, right? And we're real cool, at least with the paisanos there, because the one that was directing them was well, he was real cool, you know. It was when we were coming into unity as one, but again, he felt what a lot of Vatos feel, right? That Usureños were above Raza, which is just nonsense, As everyone knows, every ground flood has its hitters, you know. Don't matter. To speak about another ground flood down is like speaking of yourself, because, when it goes up with them, it's, you're basically, if you have that mentality, you're swinging down, right? And it ain't nothing like that. There's win and loses in every scenario, right? In prison. And I see a lot of people talk about fear. My experience, almost 24 years in the system, there is no such thing. They hear all these YouTubers, oh, brothers, we're scared of Southsiders or Northerners, or Southsiders or Raza were scared of brothers, and it's BS. I don't think there is a faction that's scared of a next faction. I think it just common sense comes into play a lot of times, right? Which is outnumber, or one faction knows the other faction has hitters on the yard, because if you got the proper clecha, you will be aware of it without having to go up with them, right? But anyways, getting back to what I was saying again, there was a couple incident when these two camaradas, Güero from Florencia, what was the homies? Another couple homies from South Central, from Florencia, I believe too. And it's because they had that chip in the shoulder, right? With with brother fractions per se, mostly Crips, right? And it was behind them on the streets, one way or another, having friction with them, right? Which is understood. But what was said to them is like, that's street stuff, right? You come and, disturb the yard in any way and slow down the production just because you have a chip on your shoulder that they don't count no more in prison. That's street stuff, right? For example, if one faction is willing to put it aside, then you sure as hell are going to get with the program. But when well, When I took off behind Weddle, it was starting to become a problem because you could see they were acting like they had Clecha, and newcomers that were hitting the yard, they were getting guided by them. And it was because of the lack of asking. To me, I always, well, at least at this time, right? I thought one of the rules and regulations as guidelines of campuleros that was established as you have the right to ask. You know, I don't recommend you refusing, but you have the right to ask. Always ask. Look for that clecha. Maybe not for me, but it ain't hard to analyze someone on the yard that have it, right? And the right camarada, he's not gonna deny it. I remember I got a lot of clecha on this yard from Chino from Pacas, right? He was a homie lifer that's been down like 24 years. And I was never that individual. I knew learning is a process in life. Even when you die, you learn, right? Because ain't nobody knows what's after death till you're there, right? And there's no way to come back and explain it. So, anyways, this camaradas had that pride type of thing, right? And I took off, but they had already not been warned, but it had already hit up there, right? Their behavior and their influence, and it wasn't like I wanted permission to be sincere, not to hit them, whack them, but give them a good stomping until they got right, you know. But I never got that permission. I took off, and within time, I guess a riot happened amongst camaradas, paisanos, and brothers in general. And of course, they walked around the yard with their chest puffed in, not wanting to learn or ask. They thought they knew it all, and they had to back that mouth up, right? So this time they did catch a shoe, and they did end up going to Tehachapi. As you know, once you catch any type of shoe, you automatically hit a 180. Your shoe kick out, right? And they were in C section in 7 block B yard, right? And we went out to the same concrete yard, and well, me, Toker from Riverside, well, the ones that we had that yard for Toro, we told him that you slowly roll here, cause any type of trouble, it wasn't going to be permitted. You know, as you guys know, at this time is when I went out there, and I'll be sincere, I went out there with orders, as you guys know, from Chino to go ahead and move on our gente, right? For a power trip, as it always is, and it was behind dope, right? Güero, Joker, and then weren't sending back there anything when there was a pipeline to do so. So they were upset behind it. But I already touched on it, and I didn't have time to really see other issues that were brought up. For example, there was gambling, horse playing, selling amongst races. But the main factor that was an issue was them not checking in the back, right? It's what mattered to the Beatles. And anyways, I came back, as you guys know, shortly, and Toto took off, and it's when Tio Chino got there. And I stated Tio Chino didn't have that, or did not give that wiggle room. You messed up when he was there, and your chequeada was going to get you were going to get whacked. So anyways, these two vatos, from I forgot if it was 10 month shoe again or something in that effect, right? But when the time they hit there, they only had 4 or 5 months to do, so they ended up getting go to B yard. And before they left, I actually got close to a stranger. That's no stranger look. It don't work like this in these levels, right? For example, what you did in Chagawala, you're not gonna go up and disrespect, you know, the brothers by telling them they have to remove someone. And I say this because when I did go out, I did see a lot of not just raza, but it was also whites that were cribs and stuff like that. But again, my mind when I went out was against our own, right? To straighten things out. And on top of that, I knew better, right? We don't trip on that in a 180. Cause, well, I ain't nobody to tell another Ramfla what can join their organization, right? Just like there's black homies, there's white homies, Chinese, and ain't nobody gonna tell us, right? It's gonna respect thing. And if you have the right klecha, you know better than to confront something like this because it's gonna be met with aggression, period. Unless the dude is a weenie, then he's gonna get thrown under the bus, right? But nevertheless, that's for them to deal with. Anyways, I try to tell him, we don't set trip on that. You don't mad dog. Just cause on the streets you're like this, the stuff you guys were doing in Ironwood, you don't do. I was surprised they were able to last that long in Ironwood cause, you know, the brothers did not put up with stuff in Ironwood. I'll be straight, you know. It was just that moment where mainly the Bloods, they had little conflicts among themselves, so I can understand why, a lot of things was overseen or not taken to heart, right? But anyways, as always, Stranger took it as we're both sureños, and he's right, I was nobody, just simply trying to guide him correctly, right? But he had the opportunity to ask a lot of camaradas on how things were, and nevertheless, he chose to ride with his homeboy, right? And they hit the 180, and I guess they got told, not to get involved in issues that not concern them. As we're talking about, he had problem with razas being a part of crib and blood that were on the yard, and he wanted the opportunity to deal with it or to have the blacks deal with it. And of course, he got shot down because of the friendship that was established in the yard by Weddle. And again, it's how it is in a 180. You don't play that racist trip, right? A lot of people speak about it, and again, that's their faction. You can't tell someone just because he's raza, but he grows up there, he can't be something if he has the heart for it, right? His own people's gonna ride with him, and at the end of the day, nobody has fear again in prison. That's a myth. You're not gonna tell, for example, us go up to the cribs and tell them they have to do something, or even request it in a polite way, because it's none of our business. Unless we know there's dirt on that individual, then he has to rotate regardless if the yard goes up, right? Nevertheless, they never left it alone, and doing day room, I guess one time they got into a little cachetadas, right, amongst brothers in the day room. Nothing big, no filero, nothing, but I guess for priors they went back to the shoe, right? And it's attached be 180, they send you back to the shoe for whatever, and Guero had already shot that kite when they were in A block waiting on hitting the shoe, right? They eventually will hit 5 block. But Guero had already striked and he had Theo Chino real happy, right? And Chino requested, whoever had a little history on those camaradas to go ahead and put it out there. And well, a couple issues have already been brought. Remember, I had already shot word up there, and even if I wanted to shield the camaradas, because I knew how Tio Chino was, you know, it's one of them things you do, and it gets brought up. You're keeping things from a Pili, right? And you're gonna get hit, especially from the Pili that's requesting it. So I told him, every when they got there from a level 2, the reason behind it, their attitude, there. So basically, they didn't want to learn. They want to do their own thing, right? For their belief. Streets have nothing to do with the inside. It's left at the gate. And not only that barrio trip, as it is down south, As you guys know, we walk in as sureños. Of course, your barrio is your barrio. But inside, it just has no meaning. Period. Unfortunately for the camaradas, they hit a level 2 and they went to a yard afterwards that didn't have that proper clecha. And by the time they really hit the shoe, they were short timing it and they didn't want to listen. They thought they had done that, been there and had the knowledge, right? Never wanted to get close to a Pili to learn because their answer was, I'm here for the causa. I don't like to get involved, my respects, which is understood. But with the respects, you have to have the knowledge. You have to be able to sit down and listen. I was at hardhead when I got there. Believe me, if it would have been a different individual there, Raul, I knew I would have been done from the gate. Just this type of stuff that when the Moore's doors opens, I was always doing, right? And anyways, that's a different story, right? I just remember Tio Chino just saying, to me, they're just causing conflict. They locked that yard down for so and so, There was no feria to be made. But what mattered the most was they couldn't send the library over here with one of them special books to me, right? So they stopped that flow. They're taking space, remove them. So after he has stated that, there is no question, Palabra got sent to 5 block and they were done. And if you guys know Tio Chino, there was no coming back from it. Because if he put it out, other Pilis were going to ride with it, period. Anyways, this is just a reflection on different levels, right? You see what's okay in a level 2 definitely is not okay in a level 4. I was always in a 180 design, right? But from hearing the rules and guidelines from a level 2 to 180 is it's exactly that, complete 180. 180 is more about respect in general. And there is carnalismo, at least in the palabra sense, right? Because it's like that throughout all the system. If push comes to shove, the closest one to you is going to be the one cutting your jugular. But my thing is, if you're already there, be smart, ask. I know now in most places, right, the right for a camarada to ask is being taken by these individuals. But, for example, they ask you to go ahead and wiggle, say Simon, but I need to cover my butt, may I ask the wise? Don't press on it, but it's always smart, Don't allow people to, like these two people, whoever they poisoned, they had a whole crew, right? They were older to poison your mind in the sense, just go and act and work like that in prison. You see all that stays at the gate. Remember that. So if in your heart you know it's just not possible for you, it's just better to go about doing something for yourself, right? Because you're going to run across these scenarios all the time in prison. But anyways, I hope I made sense how it differs from level to level. Unfortunately, well, at least in these days, in a level 4 180 this time, it's where I did all my time, right? And in the shoes, mostly everybody's in touch with the feeling. So it was always, you pay attention or you're gonna get removed. So even if you go in and there ain't nothing there, you know, don't get be guided, excuse me, by people their actions just ain't correct. You know, respect matters a lot. Even when you're on the streets, respect and love yourself. Don't give everything up for something that's a myth, that's a lie. You see, you're never gonna earn that carnalismo, that love inside, as long as it's dictated by that tecato mentality. Be smart, stay true to yourself and loyal to your loved ones. They're the ones that are gonna maintain. God bless, buenas noches.